Here we're asked to graph a trig function, and there are multiple transformations that are taking place. So we need to identify those first before we start. We're looking at a function that looks something like y equals a cosine b x plus c plus d, and we only have 3 of the possible transformations. There's actually no phase shift that we need to worry about. So we're looking at a change in amplitude, a change in period, and a vertical shift or a change in the axis of the wave. So those are our 3 features we need to know what we're moving. But what is it that we're actually moving around on the graph? That's our cosine curve. So you want to make sure that you remember that cosine is the function that starts up at 1, goes out to 2 pi, will go down to 1, -1 halfway in between, and have this general shape. Kind of keep that in mind. Obviously, that's a rough sketch and not a great picture. We don't need to be concerned about that. What we're looking to do is make a better picture of the graph that we're being asked to make. So, first things first, let's make our axes and think about some of the information we're given. I like to start with the vertical shift to kind of have an idea of where I'm going to be sketching out my picture. This -6 tells me I'm shifting down 6 spaces. So shifting down, and that's where the axis of the wave is going to be, at a value of -6. The amplitude tells me exactly how far up or down from the axis of the wave my graph will stretch. So I will stretch up 5 from -6 to -1, and I like to put a little line to tell me that's the highest my graph will go. It'll also stretch down 5 from -6 down to -11. And again, I make a little dotted line on the bottom to tell me that's the lowest point my graph will ever go. Since there was no shift side to side or phase shift, I know that my cosine graph is going to start on the y-axis. You start here loosely. The graph will extend to the left and right of there, but I like to envision that there is a beginning point to help myself. So, I know that my cosine graph will start at the top, and if you can't remember that, we can look at our rough sketch we made at the beginning, and we know that we start at the top part of the graph, and that it will go to the same point again at the end of its period. So now we need to know what is the period of the graph. Well, the period is 2 pi over whatever that number is. 2 pi over 3, that doesn't reduce at all. I know that by the time I get back to this value of -1 again, I will have reached an angle of 2 pi over 3. And I'll have repeated the same period again by the end of 4 pi over 3. Now I want to kind of get the scale in for all the places in between. I want to know what exactly is halfway between 0 and 2 pi over 3. That's 2 pi over 6, or, if you want to reduce that, pi over 3. And get these halfway points as well, which are halfway between 0 and pi over 3, it's pi over 6. Halfway between pi over 3 and 2 pi over 3. We can add those together. We get pi over 3 plus 2 pi over 3, that's 3 pi over 3, and we want the average of that, so 3 pi over 3, pi, divided by 2, pi over 2, and I can follow my pattern. I know that halfway between the ends of the period, cosine is at the bottom, and each of these points we hit the axis of the wave, and that is my cosine curve. And it will repeat, oops, excuse me, that is not in the right place, in between and such for as many periods as you are asked to draw. There you go.